When you stop resisting, life begins to flow again. Most people think that control is power, but control is only fear disguised as order. You see, we try to shape life into what we think it should be, yet in doing so, we miss what it already is. When I was younger, I thought that if I could understand everything, I could master life. But understanding is not mastery, and mastery is not peace. The more I tried to grasp, the more life slipped through my fingers, like trying to hold water in a clenched fist. I began to notice that this struggle, this resistance, was everywhere. People resist uncertainty. They resist change. They resist pain, and they even resist joy. They hold their breath in fear that life might take something away from them. And in that moment, they forget that life was never meant to be possessed. You see, life is not a problem to be solved. It is a song to be danced, a river to be flowed with. But instead, most of us stand on the shore, shouting at the current, demanding that it slow down, or speed up, or carry us exactly where we think we should go. The irony is that the river does not care what you demand. It moves as it must. And if you learn to float, you will find it always takes you somewhere beautiful, though it may not be where you expected. Now this is the great lesson. When you stop resisting, you begin to see. You begin to notice that there is a kind of intelligence woven through everything, the same intelligence that makes your heart beat, that grows your hair, that breathes through you, and that turns the stars in the sky. It has been guiding you all along, but you could not feel it, because you were too busy trying to steer. When I talk about resistance, I do not mean fighting against the world with your hands or your words. I mean the subtle, constant tension inside, the voice that says this should not be happening, I need to fix this, I am not enough, or I must get somewhere else. That voice is the ego. It is a trickster. It tells you that you are separate from life, that you must control what is already flowing perfectly on its own. But tell me, do you control the beating of your heart? Do you make each breath happen? Do you think your thoughts before you think them? Of course not. They arise just as clouds drift across the sky, and the waves roll in upon the shore. You do not command them, they move by their own rhythm. You are that rhythm. The trouble begins when you start believing that you are the door of all this. You begin to live as if the world were something external, something you must conquer or manipulate. You say, I must become successful, I must find happiness, I must be spiritual. But the moment you say must, you have already missed it. You have made life into a competition, when it was always meant to be a dance. And you see, a dancer does not step onto the floor to get somewhere. He dances for the joy of moving, for the music itself. The point of the dance is not to reach the end of the song. It is to be absorbed in every note, every beat, every pause. Likewise, the purpose of life is not to arrive. It is to participate, to feel, to flow. So when I tell you stop resisting, I do not mean to give up. I mean to surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of trust. The trust that life knows how to live itself through you. That even your mistakes are part of the choreography. The mind will say, but if I do not control things, everything will fall apart. And I say, look around. Has not everything been falling apart and coming back together since the beginning of time? Stars explode, and new stars are born. Seasons die, and bloom again. You exhale, and inhale. This is the rhythm of existence, not chaos, but balance. There is a Zen story I love to tell. A farmer's horse ran away, and the neighbors said how terrible. But the farmer said maybe. The next day, the horse returned, bringing 3 wild horses with it. The neighbors said how wonderful. But again, the farmer said maybe. Then the farmer's son broke his leg trying to tame one of the horses, and the neighbors cried how awful. But the farmer simply said maybe. Later, soldiers came to the village to draft young men into war, but they spared the son because of his broken leg. The neighbors rejoiced, how lucky. And the farmer once again said maybe. That is what it means to stop resisting. To not label every event as good or bad, to not rush to control what you do not yet understand. Because life has a way of weaving meaning out of the things you once wished away. When you resist, you live in tension. When you let go, you live in harmony. The river does not fight the rocks, it flows around them, shaping them gently over time. That is the power of surrender. You see, I am not telling you to do nothing. I am telling you to stop struggling while you do something. There is a great difference. You can still act, still move, still choose, But you do it without that inner knot of fear that says, if this does not go my way, I will break. Because when you know you are part of the current, you trust that even your detours have purpose. I often said that trying to control life is like playing music with too much concern for the next note. You ruin the melody because you are never really listening. You are always waiting for what is next. But life is heard only in the present. The symphony of existence plays one note at a time. When you stop resisting, you begin to hear it. You hear the silence between the notes, the pauses that give meaning to the sound. You begin to notice that the same stillness that exists between heartbeats, between breaths, exists in you. That stillness is who you truly are. Everything you fear losing is already changing. Everything you try to keep forever will slip away. So why suffer twice, first through the fear of loss, and then through the loss itself? When you accept impermanence, you do not fall into despair. You fall into peace. The Japanese call this wabi-sabi, the beauty of imperfection and transience. A cracked bowl mended with gold becomes more precious for having been broken. And you too are more beautiful for your scars. They are not signs of weakness, but of having lived. You cannot stop the river from flowing, but you can stop drowning in your resistance to it. Once you do, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel life moving through you, effortlessly, naturally, like the wind through an open field. You start to trust that everything is happening as it should, even when it does not make sense. And then, you realize, you are never separate from the flow. You are the flow. You are life, observing itself, pretending for a while to be a person. And the moment you see that, resistance becomes impossible. Because now, there is only what is, and it is enough. When I began to understand this, a great quiet entered my life. It was not the silence of nothingness, but the silence of understanding. It felt like the ocean after a storm, the same sea, but suddenly calm, vast, and aware of its own depth. You see, resistance is noise. It fills the mind with static. It keeps you occupied with what should be, instead of what is. And the more noise there is, the harder it becomes to hear the subtle music of life that has always been playing underneath. Most people live as if they were separate from the world around them. They think they are inside their bodies, looking out at life, like someone sitting in a car watching the scenery go by. But that is not what is truly happening. You are not in the world, you are the world. You are an expression of the same force that makes the stars burn and the tides rise. When you drop resistance, this becomes obvious. You realize that you are not breathing, the universe is breathing you. You are not living on Earth, you are a movement of Earth, like a wave is a movement of the sea. And when a wave realizes that it is water, fear disappears. Because the wave may rise and fall, but the ocean remains. That is why, when you stop resisting, you stop fearing death. Because you see that what you truly are cannot die. The forms change, yes, but the essence, the awareness that looks out through your eyes, that feels the wind and hears the rain, that never began and will never end. It only transforms, like clouds into rain, rain into rivers, and rivers back into clouds. Resistance is born from the illusion of separateness. The moment you believe you are a fragment, isolated from the whole, fear becomes your shadow. You begin to fight, to defend, to build walls and definitions of me and you, mine and theirs, good and bad. But these are just lines drawn in water. They disappear the moment you stop tracing them. I often said that control is a superstition. People believe that if they worry enough, if they plan enough, if they discipline life into submission, then perhaps they will be safe. But what is safety, really? Can you ever be safe from change? Can you ever be safe from the unknown? The only true safety is in realizing that you do not need any. Because whatever happens, you will still be the awareness that witnesses it. Let me tell you something curious about fear. Fear is not real in the way you think it is. It is not an enemy. It is just resistance taking shape. When you stop resisting fear itself, it dissolves. The moment you look at fear and say you may come in, it loses its teeth. It is like inviting a ghost into the light. Suddenly, you see there was nothing there but air. So to live freely, you must let life move through you. Let it surprise you. Let it break the plans you thought you needed. Let it guide you where logic would never dare to go. Because logic belongs to the surface of the mind, but life springs from the depths. And those depths are not chaotic, they are wise beyond measure. When I speak of flow, I do not mean laziness. I mean alignment. Flow is what happens when the inner and the outer stop fighting each other. When your thoughts no longer argue with reality. When what is inside of you moves in rhythm with what is outside of you. Then action becomes effortless. You have felt it before, those moments when things seem to happen by themselves, perfectly timed. You meet the right person. You say the right words. You are in the right place. And it all feels strangely familiar, as if life itself were saying yes, this is how it was meant to unfold. That is the taste of non-resistance. It is not forced. It is graceful. Now let us go deeper. The ego, that little voice inside that says I must, I should, I cannot, is like a wave pretending to be separate from the sea. It believes it must push itself forward to exist. But that effort is exhausting, because it is an illusion. The truth is, you never needed to push. You were being carried all along. Imagine a leaf floating down a river. The leaf does not steer. It does not plan. It simply rests on the water, and yet it always reaches where it needs to go. Sometimes it gets caught in a small whirlpool, sometimes it floats into sunlight, sometimes into shade. But it never doubts the river. And that is freedom, to trust the current. When you trust the flow, you begin to act from intuition, not from fear. You no longer waste energy calculating every possibility. You move naturally, as a dancer who stops counting steps and starts feeling the rhythm. That is how wisdom expresses itself, not through thinking, but through attunement. So many people come to me and say, Alan, I want to let go, but I do not know how. And I always tell them, you cannot do letting go. The moment you try, you are still holding on. Letting go happens when you see there was never anyone holding on in the first place. It is like waking from a dream. The dream does not end because you force it to, it ends because you realize you were dreaming. When you realize that, resistance collapses by itself. Because there is no longer a you standing apart from what is happening. There is only happening. Life moving as life. This is what the mystics meant when they spoke of awakening. Not becoming something greater, but remembering what you already are. The infinite pretending to be finite, the ocean pretending to be a drop. You are not on a spiritual journey, you are the journey itself, watching itself unfold. Sometimes, life will still hurt. Surrender does not mean you will not feel pain. But it changes how you experience it. You begin to see that pain and joy are two sides of the same wave. They rise together, and they fall together. To deny one is to flatten the whole ocean. So feel everything, deeply. Let the grief move through you, and the laughter too. Do not cling to either. They are just weather passing through the open sky of your being. And remember, the sky is never harmed by the storm. This is what I mean when I say, when you stop resisting, life flows. It flows because you are no longer damming it with your fear. You stop arguing with reality, and reality stops arguing back. Suddenly, everything softens. You feel lighter, as if the weight you have been carrying was never real to begin with. And perhaps that is the great cosmic joke, that we spend our lives trying to hold together an identity that never existed. You are not a fixed thing. You are a process, a verb, a happening. When you stop trying to freeze yourself into an image, you come alive. You stop saying I should be like this, and instead ask, what wants to move through me now? That is how life becomes art. Not by forcing beauty, but by allowing it. Every mistake, every detour, every crack becomes part of the masterpiece. As the Japanese say, the gold in the cracks makes the bowl more beautiful. There is a line I once said that people often quote, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. And that is what all of this means, to join the dance. To see that the music of life never stopped playing, even when you thought you had lost the rhythm. You only need to listen again. When you stop resisting, you start listening. And when you truly listen, you hear the sound of your own being, timeless, unhurried, at peace. There comes a moment when you stop asking life for guarantees and you start listening to its rhythm instead. That moment is freedom. Not the kind of freedom that shouts or demands, but the quiet kind, the freedom of the wind, the river, and the flame. A freedom that knows no boundaries because it no longer imagines any. You see, life is not waiting to be perfect before it begins to flow. It is flowing right now. The only question is whether you are moving with it or standing in your own way. Every time you say this should not be happening, you build a wall between yourself and reality. But reality does not stop, it simply flows around your wall, like water around a stone. And over time, even the stone is worn smooth. When I look back, I see that every mistake in my life was not a failure, but a correction. A gentle redirection from life itself, guiding me toward what I needed to learn. Sometimes the lessons were painful, but pain too is a kind of teacher. It burns away illusion and leaves only truth. We suffer not because life is cruel, but because we refuse to accept its impermanence. We want joy to stay and pain to leave. But joy and pain are twins, they arrive together, they leave together. To want one without the other is to want half of existence. When you stop resisting, you stop dividing life into good and bad. You begin to see that everything has its place. Even the moments you call dark are simply the soil from which new light will grow. Night is not the enemy of day, it is its completion. If you could see the whole of your life from above, like a river winding through a valley, you would realize that even the bends and rapids are necessary. Without them, the water would not sing. Without them, the river would not reach the sea. To live without resistance is not to float away into passivity. It is to move with awareness, to act without fear. When action comes from clarity, not tension, it has a strange power, a power that feels effortless. You begin to notice that what you once struggled to achieve now happens naturally. Because it was never your separate will making it happen, it was life unfolding through you. This is what I mean when I say you are the universe experiencing itself. You are not a stranger in this world. You are the world, awake to itself for a little while. When you see that, you no longer need to fight for belonging. You already belong, just as a wave belongs to the sea. The idea of control is one of humanity's favorite illusions. We build our schedules, our goals, our maps of meaning, and then life comes along with its quiet laughter and rearranges everything. But the rearranging is not chaos, it is wisdom, it is grace in disguise. Think of the times when life did not go according to your plan. The job that slipped away. The person who left. The door that closed just when you thought it was opening. At first, it felt like betrayal. But later, when you looked back, you saw the hidden pattern, the way each ending became a beginning, each loss a preparation. That is life's intelligence at work. So the next time things fall apart, do not rush to fix them. Sit in the space that opens. Listen to the silence beneath the noise. Something new is being born there, but it cannot appear while you are busy resisting. Faith is not believing something you cannot prove, it is trusting the pattern even when you cannot see it. It is knowing that the river is still moving, even in the fog. And if you cannot see the next bend, that is fine, you are not supposed to. Your task is to be present for this stretch of water, right now, right here. Presence is the antidote to resistance. When you are fully present, there is nothing to resist. There is only what is. You taste your tea, and that is enough. You hear the rain, and that is enough. You breathe, and that is enough. In that simple moment, you are free. People ask me, Alan, what does it mean to live fully? And I tell them, it means to stop living conditionally. To stop saying I will be happy when, or I will rest when. Because there is no when. There is only now. And this now is eternity dressed as a fleeting moment. When you stop resisting, you return to now. You discover that life has never been elsewhere. It has always been whispering through the wind, glowing in the candle flame, laughing in the faces of the people you meet. All you ever needed to do was listen. Sometimes, the greatest act of wisdom is to pause. To stop chasing what was never running away. The mind will say, I must keep going, I must find the answer. And I say, the answer appears when the questioner disappears. When the noise of seeking fades, the truth reveals itself. So be still for a moment. Let life catch up to you. Feel the pulse in your hands, the air in your lungs, the gentle weight of being alive. That is not something you are doing, it is something happening through you. You are the dance, not the dancer. You are the wave, not the swimmer. When you understand this, compassion naturally arises. You stop judging others for being lost, because you remember how lost you once were. You see that everyone is fighting invisible battles, trying to control storms that were never meant to be controlled. And instead of pity, you feel love. Because you recognize yourself in them. This is the miracle of letting go. You begin to love without agenda. You give, not to be good, but because giving is what love does. You forgive, not because someone deserves it, but because you no longer wish to carry the weight. And suddenly, life becomes lighter. You walk softer, you speak gentler, you breathe easier. You flow. Flowing with life does not mean ignoring responsibility. It means acting from alignment, not anxiety. When you are aligned, even responsibility feels like grace. You do what must be done, but without the tightness of fear. You move like water, flexible, adaptive, yet unstoppable. If you truly wish to live, stop asking what should I do and start asking what wants to move through me right now. Maybe it is silence. Maybe it is laughter. Maybe it is action. Maybe it is rest. When you trust what arises, life becomes effortless again. And if you forget, because you will, do not resist that either. Even forgetting is part of the dance. The tide goes out, and the tide comes in. Sometimes you will feel connected, sometimes separate. Both are sacred. Both belong. Eventually, you will see that there was never anything to resist at all. The river was never against you. It was you, all along, guiding yourself back to yourself. And every struggle, every tear, every breath, was part of that remembering. When you stop resisting, life flows, but more than that, you flow. You become life itself, unbound, unhurried, untouched by time. You discover that the peace you were searching for was never at the end of the journey, it was the stillness beneath your every step. And when you rest there, even for a moment, you understand. There is nothing to seek, nothing to fix, nothing to fear. There is only this infinite presence, breathing, moving, living through you. So relax your grip, breathe deeply, trust the current, and let life flow. Because after all, it always was.